Hi everyone. So my dad jokes are worse than Alexa, so I'm going to try not to have any sense of humor today. Today I'm going to talk about our culture of innovation and how we actually help our customers innovate using our platform and how we actually approach innovation internally in Amazon. My name is Ivor Bradley. I'm the public sector lead for WA and SA. I've been at Amazon for 3 years, and in that period of time I've been fortunate enough to see numerous government agencies innovate and do things creatively. I have a customer sitting right in front of me, Greg, who is going to be presenting on how he's changed the landscape in South Australia. I really hope that out of today's session, you'll take some aspects of this and be able to introduce that into your culture and your organization. So in opening, I want to share with you a quote from Jeff Bezos, and this really underpins how we at Amazon look at innovation. It basically states that the most radical of inventions are those inventions that enable others to innovate and unleash their full potential. And this really underpins how we approach everything in terms of innovation. Our mission at Amazon, it's a simple one. It's very broad. We want to be the Earth's most customer-centric organization. This mission is underpinned by our commitment to make each and every one of our customers' lives easier. So where does innovation start? Innovation starts with the customer, and we work backwards. It's not just about knowing what your customer needs or wants, but sometimes it's about reinventing on your customer's behalf. So our culture of innovation at Amazon is about 4 key things. The first being customer obsession. So everything we do is for our customer, with our customer in mind. Long-term thinking, an inventive mindset that is okay with failure, and above all else, if you're trying something new, being okay with being misunderstood, sometimes for long periods of time. So for context, we'll take a little bit of a look back at development at Amazon. And a thing to note is that we suffered from the same challenges that most of you suffer from. Traditional monolithic stacks that are highly interconnected, highly complex, and all of a sudden change becomes really, really hard. Behind me is an overview of what a hypothetical monolithic stack could look like. And I'm sure some of you in the audience are familiar with the complexities of this. This type of environment slows you down, and for us it was slowing us down a lot. We needed to change. We needed to change our architecture. And this is where microservices came in. We started this journey 15 years ago, and we've gone from a model that you see behind me to one that's purely based on microservices. These are single services that do one thing and one thing only. You interface via an API. They're intrinsically a black box to one another, and it's highly secure and very fast. This fundamental change has been able to change how we do things. The first part of that is we can now do in excess of 50 million deployments in our environment each year. Now just imagine the complexity of this. This is across thousands of teams, multiple environments, all whilst ensuring continuous delivery. Imagine how hard that would be in your current state. But if you have a stubbornness in vision, but you're flexible as to how you get there, you can do amazing things. So what we mean by that is be very firm on why you're doing it, but how and what you do to get there you can change along the way. If you're going to try new things, you really have to be comfortable with people not understanding what you're doing. And really, sometimes for a long period of time. We've got some fantastic examples of this. So at Amazon, in 1994, we started selling books. You know what? We were really good at it. We loved selling books. Any of you have a Kindle? Okay. Do you know that we never actually set out to create an e-book or an e-reader? Rather, it was a product of us wanting to be able to deliver a digital book to our customers anywhere in the world in seconds. Another good example is Amazon. So in 2006, Wall Street said this is a bit of a risky bet, and maybe Jeff needs to get back and mind the bookstore. Today, Wall Street loves us. So these are good examples of being misunderstood for periods of time, but being stubborn on your vision. So how do we organize for innovation? We start with what we call a mechanism. In your organization, you might know that as a business process. At Amazon, it's a virtuous cycle, which is a process that improves as it operates. An example of this is our working backwards process. We work back from the customer. We start with a press release, followed by an FAQ, and then a user manual. The thing to note, if you look at all those steps behind us, that happens before we even start building. As I said, it's a mechanism, so it's a process. You use this to elicit clarity. You do not use this to just document what you've already decided you're going to do. The core to working backwards is answering 5 key questions. The first one is, who is your customer? What is the customer challenge, opportunity, or problem? Is the most important benefit to your customer clear? Are you assuming it's a cost thing, or is it actually speed and agility that actually makes the difference? Also, equally important is, how do you know what your customer wants or needs? And also, what is your customer experience going to look like? If you can't answer these 5 questions, you stop your process. Once you've answered these 5 questions, you go on to the hard part, which is creating the press release. The idea behind the press release is creating that picture of success. So when you understand what will make your customer successful, it really ensures things like market fit. At Amazon, we talk about crafting a press release. The term crafting means you've got to continuously iterate. It implies skill. And those statements mean that it's actually hard work. And it's hard, it's difficult to do, but it's well worth it. Once you've created your press release, you circulate that in the team. And when you're creating your press release, use simple ways to say things. If you look behind me, you can see there's a whole bunch of complex vertical jargon that most probably won't make sense to anyone. So learn how to use English effectively, say things very simply, ensure that there's no miscommunication, misunderstanding. It makes a massive difference. So once you've done your press release, you get on to the real fun part, and you circulate your press release amongst your team, and you start using your press release to drive those difficult questions. The nice thing about the FAQ, it's both internal as well as external. And you need to focus on those hard questions, those questions that you as a product builder don't really want anyone to ask you. So from a customer perspective, it's how much will it be? How do I cancel it? How do I stop using it? An internal question can be, what is the underlying technology? That's nice and easy. But imagine going to a builder and say, well, what are the customers going to least like about your first release? Gee, that changes things. The third aspect to working backwards is using visuals. So visuals, we all think in pictures. They're really good at eliciting provocative conversation. And to be successful, employ the thoughts of the people around you. Use your visuals to start the conversation. Try to keep the quality of your visuals in line with the quality or the maturity of your idea. So as you start off, you've got a rough idea, use rough visuals. As you improve it and you mature your product and your thought process, your visual quality should actually improve. Most companies will create software based on their own assumptions, and then they'll throw it over the fence to marketing and sales, and they'll say, hey, we made it, it's awesome, go forth and sell. At Amazon, we think that process is backwards. So we've got mechanisms or processes. Now the next thing we need is tool set. For that, architecture, microservices. All of these things come into play. At Amazon, we're really good at building large self-service platforms. The beauty about this is you remove the blockers. You empower your people to actually radically change things and innovate quicker. So we've got mechanisms, we've got the toolbox. The next thing is we need the people to operate in innovation. And this is where our people and our culture comes into play. At Amazon, we've got a simple philosophy. We hire builders, and we let them build. Each and every person you meet at Amazon is a leader. We manage ourselves, we manage our efficiency. This is tightly coupled to our leadership principles, of which there are 14. Some are really self-explanatory, like customer obsession, bias for action. I like frugality, which is somewhere over there. It doesn't mean we're cheap. It just means that we invest where it makes sense to customers. So now you've got your mechanisms or your business processes. You've got your toolbox. You've got your people to operate it. Now what you need is operational ethos to enable this. This is where the culture of experimentation comes into play. And this is critical. You need to be able to embrace failure. Failure needs to be okay. The only way you can do that is being able to lower the cost of failure and also be able to fail very fast. In 2015, Jeff Bezos wrote a letter to the shareholders where he said he believes that Amazon is particularly the best place to fail. And the reason being is we're good at it. We have a lot of practice. And he talks a lot, and he links it back into invention and experimentation are tightly coupled. If you're only doing the experiments that you know you're going to succeed, you're not experimenting. You're not pushing the parcel. You've got to be able to do those things that you'd like to do, but you're 40% sure would work, not 80 or 90%. Part of embracing failure is learning from it. Any of you guys have an Amazon Fire Phone or heard of an Amazon Fire Phone? So we had this great idea to build a phone because, hey, we could, and we did. No one wanted to buy it. So we scrapped that. But we took those teams that were part of that, and we moved them around Amazon. And you've seen things like Alexa, Spot, etc. All of those technologies that we used in developing the phone started to bleed out into our organization. We also came up with a fantastic idea called Amazon Auctions because we wanted to compete with eBay. Yeah, that didn't work so well. But what we did learn from that is how to build marketplace. So from Amazon.com, that enabled us to allow external resellers to resell using our platform. Take that one step further, you're now on Amazon Web Services. And now you've got AWS Marketplace. We've got over 1,000 ISVs. You can go there and say, I want a Tableau server, click, deploy, experiment. So embracing failure and learning by it are key. So those are the 4 aspects that you use to organize for innovation. The next aspect is, whilst you have that organization, is how do you achieve the structure of the teams. And at Amazon you'll hear, and I'm sure most of you have heard, of our 2-pizza team. So the concept behind that is create a team that 2 pizzas will feed. If 2 pizzas isn't going to feed them, too many people. Having small teams means they can own and operate what they create. All of a sudden there's a significant difference in how they build, because they own it and they have to run it. But what this does is it changes how they do things. It fosters ownership. It ensures autonomy. So when you see in the keynote today, when we say our pace of innovation is growing at an exponential rate, I hate to say it, I've lost count. It's massive. The way we do it is because we have 2 pizza teams. Having that structure means that you're actually pushing innovation, which is in most organizations managed in a central location. You start moving it out to the edge. That means that you're empowering your people. You're not saying the people in your head office own all innovation and creativity, but rather the people on the ground are actually doing things. So at the beginning of this year, I was lucky enough to take Canberra Code cadets through an EBC in Seattle. So this is a bunch of really smart kids out of Canberra Grammar. And we did a tour of a fulfillment center, with the robotic floors and all of that. And as we're going through it, we see a bunch of people off to one side, and they're all clustered around one of these shelves. And one of the kids asked, so what are they doing? Because they don't look like they're doing anything. Everything else is just crazy, and people are doing things, and stuff is moving, and everything looks awesome, but these people are just sitting there talking and looking at this. So the guy said, oh no, so that's our product development team. So what we are finding is we hit a record number of parcels in a sorted environment. So we were doing, in a 22 hours period, over 1 million packages. And what they were finding is the plastic was wearing, things were starting to fall out on the robotic floor. As soon as that happened, that slows things down. So the guys were sitting there experimenting and trying to find different ways to do things, moving elastic, doing this, doing that. For me, that was the first time I actually saw that in practice, right down to the edge. We've got quite a number of examples of that throughout Amazon. Interesting one is Prime Air. So, much like the Kindle, we never ever thought to get into drone development, but that was born out of a desire to be able to do 30-minute deliveries to our customers, and that pilot's progressing and going well. I mentioned the Canberra Code cadets. So when we were in Seattle, the Amazon Go store went live, and we took the kids through, and it was a phenomenal experience to see people that don't have any historic way of buying things go and experience something new. And we're walking around the store, so if you haven't seen it, you put an app on your phone, you go through, you scan it, you put your phone away, and you basically walk around, find what you like, put it in your pocket, and you walk out, and it bills you. It's really cool. And I watch these kids going, this is crazy, this is insane. And the one kid goes, I'm sure I could steal something. So I said, I'll tell you what, guys, and this is to a group of 12 kids, anything that you guys manage to steal, I'm going to pay for. I didn't have to pay for anything. But the experience of seeing that, that was born out of challenging ways that we've always done things. You think about it, you've always gone to a shop, you've always done it that specific way. After doing that, it's kind of irritating going through it and doing it yourself. Another example of innovation at the edge is cloud computing. So when this started, we talk about creating the press release and working backwards. Andy Jassy did that in terms of AWS. He said, why don't we actually use all our spare capacity and rent it when we don't need it? Because you know what, we're actually really good at that. Combine that with our logistics and our capability. 30, 40, 50 iterations of that press release, guess what? AWS was formed. He's now the CEO. The same with Alexa and the Echo, home automation. So being able to push innovation out to the edge is something where you actually start unleashing the potential of your customers. And just because you're in public sector, it doesn't mean that innovation doesn't live in your organizations. I've had so many customers that have just turned things on the dial. All you've got to do is experiment. And if you can do things like lower the cost of experimentation, embrace failure, and learn from it, you do some phenomenal things. So in closing, I want to leave you with basically 3 big ideas that we used when we started Amazon. And you can use this as a potential way forward. Put the customer first. Invent and be patient, because you'd be surprised at what's going to happen. Thank you.